My name is Salman Hamid, and I'm Assistant Professor of Integrated Science and Humanities at Hampshire College.
I'm Kevin Anderson. I teach courses in film and anthropology at the University of Massachusetts, and this is Film Autopsy.
When the embassy was taken over, 6 people escaped. And that's who I'm gonna go get.
These people die. They die badly.
I got an idea. We need to pretend to be a movie crew. We all fly out together.
Aliens and robots?
This is the best bad idea we have by far. You have 72 hours to get them out.
Hello, and welcome to a film autopsy of Argo. It's a new film directed, produced, and starring Ben Affleck, as well as Bryan Cranston, John Goodman, and Alan Arkin. The backdrop is the revolution in Iran in 1979, and it's not about the hostages, the American hostages at the embassy, but it's about 6 individuals who escaped the embassy and took refuge in the Canadian ambassador's residence in Tehran. The film, I think, sticks too closely to historical events. I think there was an opportunity here to do something a little bit more daring, a little bit more bold. There's a lot of suspense in the film. I do think it's put together well, but I think maybe they needed a different screenwriter or a slightly different angle. What are your thoughts on maybe the limitations of sticking too close to historical events?
Well, I actually disagree on the sticking too close to the historical events bit in a second. But overall, and that is actually one of my discomforts with the film. But so if we look at it, and this is one of those tricky films which has obvious political connotations, right? And so what do I think of this film as a movie, as an entertainment? I think it's a fantastic thriller. I think so. It is about, like, that the Ben Affleck character who works for the CIA. He devises the scheme that you can have the Hollywood. Basically, he hires Hollywood people to go and shoot a fake film. Basically, he got permission to shoot a fake film in Iran, and that's how they're going to get
that's
hostages
the cover
out. That's
for getting
the cover.
these 6 Americans out of the country.
Right, and it's a science fiction film post Star Wars, so that those were nice references to that, and I think that aspect that was very funny. The dialogue is funny, and for a film about Iran, for the hostage crisis, I think that's commendable. Like, you can still
Some
make
lighter
moments
yeah.
in there, and I think towards the end, the thrill of watching that film is phenomenal. I mean, I was at the edge of the seat over how they're going to make it and not, and things like that. Okay, so that being said, well-made film, thrilling film, and all that stuff. The problem is that it's not fiction. It's based upon real events, and it has implications of real-life implications of that. And I think that is where they actually fell short, and because the whole end sequences, those are all unreal. That's not what happened. So I think I agree with you in the sense that they should have done different stuff. They should have been more bold associated with that. But I think their fault was not sticking too close to the facts, but rather not sure of what they were going to do with the political message.
Well, I guess I think we both have maybe a similar criticism of the film in terms of what we kind of hoped it would do,
sure.
The kind of angles it might take. I mean, the film does start with this narration on history in Iran and democratic elections, and then the CIA and British, team who, assassinated the elected leader of Iran in 56?
I think 56, in the 50s. Yeah,
Mossadegh. So that's how it starts. It's like, considering the present day volatile relations between Iran and the USA, I thought this film started with, saying, well, you know what, it's volatile, but there's a history to that volatility. But then that kind of gets dropped. And I thought, especially with somebody like George Clooney producing, I thought, okay, this film is going to be difficult. It's going to raise some really tough questions at a difficult time. And in the end, with all the suspense, it's put together. It's crafted well as a suspense thriller. It's still just rah-rah America, and angry Muslims running around. I mean, it's just so. I think it was a missed opportunity to really take an historical event and make a much more thought-provoking film.
Oh, I think we are on the same page about this, because that exactly was my point, that yes, it started with the mentioning of the prior history, and that's where there was a lot of promise in there. But I think the filmmakers thought that the fact that they have put that in the front, they don't need to do anything else about that. Like, we put it up. And it's really disappointing, because somebody like George Clooney, who's one of the producers of the film, I mean, he has starred, I think, in 2 of the most sophisticated and insightful films about the Middle East, Three Kings, about the first Iraq War, and Syriana, which I think is one of the best films about the Middle East, complications of contemporary Middle East. And to have him and then present this, and again, the Iranians, none of the Iranian characters are complex. Right, so in fact, they reminded me because I grew up watching all these World War II films, sort of like, those Germans and Japanese soldiers, like, they're all completely stupid.
Like
they're
being
being
bungling all over the place at the end.
But menacing, right?
Yeah.
And so the imagery completely reinforces the stereotypes. And today, when there is this debate going on in the U.S. about, well, should there be bombing of Iran or not, this movie comes out. And I'm perplexed. What is the message of the film? And yes, they tried to stay close to historical images, and they have like a person hanging from the crane and things like these famous images, or a woman in a chador with a gun. Right? Yes, those are famous images that were in the newspapers and magazines in the U.S., and that was already a caricature around that time. Because that didn't provided the complex story.
Well, I think complexity is I think we can just maybe even leave it at that, is that there needed to be more complexity to the story and more complexity to the Iranian characters, their motivations. It's, I think if you're saying what, or asking the question, what is the message of this film? I think it's almost messageless in the sense that it kind of just expects us to buy in to, the Americans are right, the Iranians are wrong, and, aren't we quite, ingenious for, and it is an amazing feat that the actual Tony Mendez, the actual CIA agent, who orchestrated this rescue operation. I mean, that's to be commended, certainly. We don't want people being, held hostage where they might be subjected to, imprisonment and things and torture and stuff like that. So it's not, that these 6 deserve something worse. It's just that the film and we as an audience deserve a more complex treatment, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so the story, that reminds me like Seabiscuit, for example. Not the same genre. But like Seabiscuit, the story is
no horses
is absolutely amazing, and they make a movie out of it. And you go like, whoa, this really happened? Yeah. And so in the same way, the story of the rescue is absolutely amazing. And so, it is crying out to be made into a film. That I think I agree with. But then how do you make that film? I think that's where I think they dropped the ball, and the reviews are phenomenal. It's going to be possibly be nominated for Oscars also. And I'm just, again, I think for a movie about Iran and U.S. relations in 2012 with no message, I think that is a message itself. And I think that's a deeply troubling message, And the movie that it reminded me, the other movie it reminded me of in that problematic stuff was, we reviewed Devil's Double.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which was about Saddam's, Uday Hussein's body double. And that movie had the same problem, that it reinforced kind of like, you can play out that if you watch the movie, you go like, it wasn't a bad idea to invade Iraq, right? So I think that's the problem, and there were occasions where they could have done better, and in fact, it was in the final credits. At one point, the hostages or the students who took hostages, they're standing in front of the banner that says, well, we are not against American people, we are against American government policies. And this was a famous picture, famous banner. In the film, it just went by like this. We didn't even notice. I only noticed it towards the end of the credits.
It's
like if you wanted to enhance those kind of aspects.
Yeah, do Affleck and Clooney think that they're making some kind of really bold, daring film by bookending it with these two more kind of nods to the complexity of the situation? I don't think so. I think it's a missed opportunity, gentlemen.
I would say, unfortunately, it's going to be nominated for the Oscar, but I have to say that if you do want to understand complex Iranian perspectives, not perspectives.
Syriana.
I was going to say that watch A Separation.
Oh yeah.
Which is about an Iranian film that won Best Foreign Film for last year. Phenomenal film, but it gives character that no, Iranians are not simply I'll kill you or loyal servants, those are the only two characters: menacing, bumbling idiots, or servants. So
traitorous servants.
I'm really upset about this.
Okay. Well, we got to end it somewhere.
Okay, fine. Yes.